Cool. Flip over to there. So for the first part of the presentation, you're looking at kind of a blank screen there. Okay. So here we are at last, finally. If anyone knows about this, it's been a very long time in the making. So thank you everyone for coming. Before we get started with the first item on our agenda, you'll remember it's three-part. The first one's going to be a lightning talk. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Gemstep, the people I work for, because they provided this venue and the pizza. And I guess I should definitely thank, and the beer and drinks. And I should definitely thank Andreas, because without him, I probably would have sort of thought, like with a minute to go, like, wait, pizza. He came around and showed me where everything was. So that's great. Thank you, Andreas. And before I get cracking with the lightning talk, I just wanted to talk about what I want to create with these meetups. So firstly, I just wanted something different. I think most of us here have presented at some kind of a meetup, and you've torn your hair out preparing for a talk and stressing about it like mad. So I want to make something that's a little bit less formal. I want to remove the formal presentation for like half an hour to an hour to whatever components out of it entirely. And to that end, what I'm going to, or to the end of making this less of a commitment for anyone who wants to like run an evening, I think that's what we'll probably call it, is running one of these evenings. There'll be a three-part agenda, and tonight's sort of a template for what you could do, but I'm open to suggestion. So the first part is for a short amount of time, maybe like less than 10 minutes or so. You mumble or ramble or rant about something, probably Emacs related, I hope so. And then in part two, which is like the meat of the evening, you dive straight into Emacs, and we get hacking at something. And the objective there really is to learn from each other. Because I have the most fun with Emacs when we're sort of nattering about some cool thing that we've integrated into our config, or the latest way that we've found to, I don't know, make our builds like a second faster or something ridiculous like that. It's really fun, and I just want to learn from all of you, and I hope that everyone can learn from each other here. And then in part three, we're going to play a game. And I know it might sound like something that's a bit ambitious. We might not be able to get a game for every single evening. And what you'll see is at the end of tonight, the game that we're going to play there is kind of a game that we could play on any night. So if you can't come up with a game to play, then just play this one, if you're thinking of doing one of these. And I hope people will. Talk to me afterwards. We can make something happen. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to get cracking with this here blank screen, and I should probably move the point sort of off to the side there. We won't need that. We've got one of these fancy things. This is pretty much what I left Discovery with. Passing gift. Right, so there are lots of programs out there which have tons of features and a nice GUI, and they promise to make the world a lot simpler for you. And, these programs, well, they cost a lot of money, and they're supposed to help you get work done. So what's different about Emacs? Well, if you learn Emacs and you start using it, then you can count yourself amongst famous internet nerds. But on a more serious note, there's a very good reason why Emacs has stood the test of time, and it continues to be actively developed and copycatted to this day. And that's because of the philosophy of Emacs. You see, Emacs is infinitely hackable. Now, there are a lot of programs out there which claim to be customizable and extensible, and that they'll help let you get your work done in your particular way faster. And on the grand sort of spectrum of things, you get some programs which do a particularly good job of it. This one is the GIMP. And this is amazing, really. It started off as sort of a small-scale paint program clone. It's got a fantastic extension system in Python, and I personally met someone who worked on one of the new trilogy, not the current one, but the previous new trilogy of Star Wars, the one that no one really likes. So the
episode 1, 2, 3, basically.
Episode 1, 2, and 3. So he worked on at least one of those, and he used the GIMP for animation and for artwork. And that's amazing, really. That's a huge success story. On the other end of the spectrum, you get some tools where devs will complain because, they generally just can't find it. And, you get plugins for them as well, but, sometimes they just don't even load. And what you'll find in the grand scheme of things is that the stuff that generally does a better job of this is open source. Yeah. Well, I kind of deserve that one, so I gave it to myself. So what makes Emacs stand out amongst these other extensible tools? Well, Emacs has a web browser, and it has an email client, and it has a window manager. No, wait, hang on a second. What I meant to say is that it's got web browsers, email clients, and window managers, a fireplace, and just about anything you can darn well think of.
Psychologist.
So, a while ago, I gave a similar talk to what I'm giving tonight, but it was a lot longer. And at the start of that talk, I sort of put forward the theory that Emacs is actually a Lisp machine which contains in it a pretty good implementation of a text editor. Okay. I actually went full on for the OS theory. And I'm not sure that I managed to drive the point home that time. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to try and make the same point, but I'm going to do it by relating it through a story. And hopefully by the end, it'll become apparent why I think it's significant that it's a Lisp machine. And hopefully you'll sort of buy into this crazy idea that I have that it makes it a better tool because of it.
The TV is going to turn off in 40 seconds.
You are kidding me. So what do we do?
You just press any button.
Any button, yeah.
There we go. I pressed the top one. I have no idea what it does, but the TV is no longer going to turn off.
You get self-conscious if you watch it.
So anyway, on with the story.
That's it.
So the year is 1988, and the AI winter has just kicked in. But at the Jet Propulsion Labs, or JPL, those are the guys who make rockets and the Mars rover and various other things for NASA. Strangely enough, at this place, they're a little bit behind the curve in terms of technology. And so they continue their work in AI research, which was going out of fashion. And they continue to do so, as was done in the time, in Lisp. And it was, as Ron Garrett puts it, an incredibly productive time for the autonomous mobile robot team at the JPL. Their team went on to build robots, which were among the first in the world to perform tasks like indoor object collection and outdoor navigation. And I just want to stop for a second and think about the year. It's 1988. A year where it's not uncommon to find a machine with under a kilobyte of RAM, and they were doing things which we would still gawk at today in Lisp. And you might be thinking, well, gosh, Lisp's too big for this. You can't even fit it on the darn machine, let alone run it, and the performance is probably terrible. And the fact remains that they did it. And if you want the details on how they did it, then you can talk to me afterwards, because that's not really the point of this. You see, Ron Garrett, who is really one of the main characters in this story, because I happened to find his blog on this particular story that I already knew about, he went on to work on a team called the Remote Agent. Now, the Remote Agent was described by NASA as a an autonomous spacecraft controller. Now, that's a pretty darn cool device. Henry knows what's coming. Now, in their development team's development cycle, one of the earliest steps they do is, or they did, obviously this team has long since dissolved, was to verify the parallel and concurrent parts of their code base. Basically prove that they didn't have any bugs in them, or at least try to find them. And to this end, what they did is they translated their Lisp into another language called Promello, and Promello runs on a program called Spin. And Spin is something which is still developed to this day. It's received a lot of ACM awards, and it basically goes and verifies that your concurrent and parallel parts of the program are good. Now, using this tool, the team was able to identify no less than 5 concurrency issues, and that's probably mostly just like deadlocks, okay? And they weren't using, old ideas about concurrency. They were using, I believe, spin locks and things like that, where this shouldn't really be an issue. And the team further asserted that these bugs would have been impossible to pick up through testing. And that kind of makes me wonder how many bugs there are in the software we ship today. It's kind of a good reminder that nothing really ends up being bug-free. And all those times where you have to refresh or go back and close and open, there's probably something along the lines of this going on.
Switch it off and back on again.
Yes. Now, this next part of the story might be quite difficult for us to appreciate, because I know everyone sitting in this room, I mean, you're a great bunch. None of us write bugs, right? I mean, we are literally...
They're called features.
Yes. Okay.
Might be a bug to them, but you can look at it as a feature.
Yes, indeed. Now, the remote agent was flying in space, and it ran into a deadlock. Okay, that's pretty bad. This could have been a multi-million-dollar programming error, but the team connected to the ship, opened up a REPL, evaluated some Lisp forms, and they were able to figure out that this error was isomorphic to one of the 5 concurrency errors that they picked up earlier with Spin. Now that's pretty cool, because not only was this team able to connect to a REPL from Earth into space, but they also managed to evaluate a drop-in function which corrected the problem. And what's even more awesome about this is that this ship, well, it flew on. It was really a technical demonstration. It was part of the Millennium Project. It was called Deep Space One, and it was meant to just fly past a comet, and take a photograph of it. A very good photograph of a comet. Take a good photograph of a comet, and that was like pretty much it. It was supposed to demonstrate something. I don't know. NASA does a whole bunch of experiments. It went on to be extended twice. The mission with this ship that was sent into space with a critical concurrency issue on it. Now that's just incredible. Now, I know that, the current rhetoric is to say that actually it doesn't matter what the tools are, and really, as long as you have a good team and you've got good principles guiding you and you've got good design ideas, you should arrive at a good program. But I think that there's something fundamentally different about Lisp. Lisp is dynamic. And it's not just dynamically typed. It's dynamic right down to the syntax. A Lisp machine is a mutable environment, even if the code that you're running on it is pure. So how does this all tie back into Emacs? Well, I think that Emacs is an embodiment of a Lisp machine. It's not only dynamic, it's not only hackable, it's dynamically redefinable at runtime. It's not only open source. You can view the source at runtime in many cases and print it out. Emacs has continued to evolve as an editor, as a way of managing your personal finances, which Justin does.
Rose is Emacs for that.
Oh, excellent.
I also manage my personal finance.
And then most of all, as a philosophy of life. So stick around at these meetups, and we'll reinvent the wheel a couple of hundred times. We'll discover more key bindings than we ever thought were possibly reasonable, and hopefully at some point we'll all achieve Emacs Zen mastery. So that's the end of the first item there. And now I'm going to just jump into my Emacs.
That was an excellent
Thank you.
Fire it into space.
So there was a minor tremor on the camera there. I rotated it without picking it up. So in the video after the video stream, it's going to be like a. Don't worry, we get these in Joburg all the time. Okay, right. Hmm?
No, the tremor. It's literally launching his intelligent into space.
Yes, totally.
Powered by the power.
Okay, right. So the motivation for this part of the talk is to give everyone a bit of a taste of what it's like to get hacking in Emacs. And one of the major complaints that I hear from people these days, since you get IDEs which sort of work out of the box maybe a bit and then they get very bloated and sort of crash. So one of the major complaints is that it's quite hard to set up Emacs for a language to develop with. So I'm choosing a language which a lot of people find fiendishly difficult to use, C, and I'm going to get it up and running in Emacs pretty quickly, the standard way, and then I'm going to take a look at a more modern approach that people are starting to adopt across the board, and it's really sort of shaping the future of editing code, I think. It's definitely going to change the way IDEs work as well. So, to understand why people find it difficult to set up Emacs, I think a little bit of context is needed. So, Emacs was developed, I mean, I keep quoting the 70s, but really at that time it was like an idea that was forming in Stallman's head, and you got to see Stallman in that presentation twice. Apparently, so says the wiki, it started as a collection of macros and then eventually it became a program in its own right. Now, at around about this time, people were writing code and you know, Unix was a great way to write your code. So Unix programs were developed to help you understand your code when it got too big to fit in your head and navigate around. And so the early sort of setup for Emacs involves tying into these programs. Now, I make a note of it here. The very early versions of Emacs just had sort of good support for syntax highlighting and then ways to call out to programs quite conveniently. And some of the programs that you would have been calling out to included C tags, so that generates some tags for things throughout your project so that you can find out what kind of functions and classes and variables exist in your project and a quick way of navigating between them. There's G tags, which was sort of like C tags, but it worked on a more global scope and it was supposed to understand a bit more of the semantics of what was being done. And then, of course, before those, I think you would use locate and grep quite a bit. So you would use locate to find the file that you wanted to work on, especially if you were in the Linux kernel project, and then grep to search through them. And I was totally around at the time that these tools were being used. No, not really. But that said, they still can be used today, and they're pretty good. And I'll show you how to very quickly plug these into your Emacs. And then, of course, you have Make, and there are a few others. So I've got some pretty opinionated ideas about these things. So we've made some pretty big programs since then, which allow us to get our job done fast. And, I like to say that they allow us to write terrible code very quickly. And then they slow down to, a crawl and don't let you manage that code. So, totally great. So in more recent versions of Emacs, sort of in a response to complaints about that and widespread use of these horrible IDE programs, there's been a concerted effort to unify these interfaces and make it possible to use something like C tags through a more standard interface, but then use that same interface to call out to, say, a server which is currently parsing your code, or something entirely different, like a project called CDET. And CDET is interesting because for two reasons. Number one, I've actually worked on it. I contributed to that project, and it's part of Emacs Core. And the other reason is because they have a fascinating idea about how to interact with your code. So the idea is that if you can define a grammar which should describe everything you can do in your language, then you should be able to parse all the files in your project, and you should be able to, from that, automatically generate all the tools you need. They just sort of read from the abstract syntax trees and a database of them. So it's sort of this grand vision of accomplishing that. And I think that the tool still has its place, namely parsing the current buffer, but that when you start looking at aspects which go across multiple files and into larger projects, it becomes problematic because something that's local to a file doesn't mean the same thing when you're calling out to another file. That file could be a jar, it could be some system dependency. If you're on NPM, it could be somewhere on the internet. I don't know. And so it sort of it fails to really deliver on its grand design, but it does contain a component inside of it which passes the current buffer, and I do think that that has its place. Maybe I'll rant on about that a bit more later. So we're going to move on to this now. So that's a bit of context. And I mean, if there are any questions, just stop me at any point, because this is a much more interactive part of the evening. And just now, I'm going to suggest that Louis and, well, maybe Stuart, if you have Emacs, or you have a Mac, so you can fire up Emacs, but you'd have to yeah, we'll see if we can make something work there.
Sounds ominous.
So at this point, we're pretty much going to get into a session where anyone who's interested in joining in can join in, and we sort of go at the pace of the whole gathering and getting some task done. So we're going to print hello world into the current buffer from C and then debug it. And in case you're not getting the hints here, we're going to modify Emacs itself, the C code in Emacs. This is the objective. I don't think it's going to be too difficult. And some things that we're going to learn about in the process are the built-in UI components. So you've got Crossref, which is a tool to plug into G tags and C tags, and newer things like language servers also plug into it. More on that later. So for searching through your project, these days probably the best built-in option is VC git grep, because what project isn't built on Git? And you can git grep through your project in no time. I mean, rip grep is probably faster, but VC git grep just comes out of the box. Then we're going to take a look at how to complete something, and this is something that Emacs has, built in. A lot of people sort of moan about it not being there. It's definitely there. We're going to navigate around the project. I'm going to show you how to hook up to Git, and then I'm going to turn line numbers on. This is something that's sort of not there by default. Well, this is for people who are interested in them. There's a funny story behind some of these things. When line numbers were worked on, it was by the current maintainer. There were some existing packages for hacking line numbers into Emacs because you can do literally anything, but they were a bit slow in some circumstances, and people sort of didn't know the best way of doing it. So the maintainer said, in a nutshell, he said that he's caving, and that modern developers have been spoiled, and he's going to build line numbers into the display engine as a toggleable feature. And so he did, and they're really fast and nice, and they support just about anything you'd want to do with them. I think all of the use cases from people out there were reported, and they actually got implemented in C in the core. So that's line numbers. But anyway, we're going to get going. You don't need to read any of this, so don't worry. I'm just firing up Emacs in a little sandbox that I have prepared here. There I am. It's funny to see myself and then a reflection of myself from there, I think, or there. Gosh, no, it must be there. I feel like I'm in one of those movies where the camera's sort of pivoting around. Oops. Okay. So this is what you get when you fire up Emacs, unless you have the splash screen turned on, which you probably do, Louis. So you can fire it up.
In a new file.
I'm just in the scratch buffer, so you might have the splash screen, in which case you can hit Q and you'll get here.
You can start again specifically to get the splash screen.
Baby steps.
There you go.
Baby steps.
Q.
Yeah, now you've got the scratch buffer. Yay. Okay, cool. So throughout this sort of session here, we're going to be looking at the Emacs repository itself. So I'm going to go and find it quickly. Is this zoomed in enough to see? Oh, it doesn't really matter. So Emacs is maintained on a GNU thing called Savannah, of course. And I'm not connected to the internet. Dang it. So let's connect via phone. Where is phone? I think phone is on desk. That's a slight problem. I was intending on using it. I'll only navigate to this website and maybe to a few others.
Would you like a hotspot?
Well, Louis just offered, but okay, so I'm being offered hotspots here. Louis, you keep yours, and I'll switch on to Ant's hotspot.
I think you deserve to get your data demolished.
So
Why?
We were playing. We had a board games evening yesterday, and I used Matt's hotspot for my laptop, and my laptop downloaded Windows updates.
Whoops.
Used up all of Matt's data.
Wow.
Ooh, wow. So what
So
is
feel
your
free, go
hotspot
crazy.
called?
I think it's ANZ5P.
Okay, you'd better change your password once you give it to me, because this is being recorded.
Oh yeah. It is A561.
All lowercase.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So A561,
A75.
A75,
D18.
D18,
50.
50. Okay, so this isn't being live streamed, so luckily no one on the internet is going to rock up a gem step and try to connect to your phone.
There's MAC addresses. I think I'll figure it out.
So I'm trying to join, and do we have a connection? Maybe we do. It's sort of just like doing that thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go, we have a connection. Excellent.
Edwards MVP.
It's my MVP, yo. So I'm going to head over to the Savannah, which is quite an old website. It could do with some styling. And this is the Emacs project. So I'm just going to grab this URL and whoopsie. And quit Firefox accidentally because I hit Command Q because Q is right near Command on a Dvorak keyboard. Foiled by my own productivity, and now it's updating. I did not intend that. Okay.
I know people in the world who say foiled by my own productivity.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just pop over here. Okay, this is a great URL to just go ahead and paste here. So this is what you want to enter into your browser, Louis. Alternatively, I can give you
It's my browser.
to get the git command that you need to execute, because I think this is probably a bit easier than. So you're going to clone this. I mean, you're not on your phone, are you?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I thought you were connected to the network around here.
It doesn't work.
Oh no.
It keeps kicking me off.
So Emacs is sizable.
I already have Emacs.
Oh, did you download the source? That's what we're downloading here. So maybe you don't want to join in that part then.
You deserve this. You deserve all.
Ed already got it. We're fine.
No. Okay, cool. So because it is less than a gig, we are continuing.
I haven't been using
Soldier on.
Please tell me you're gonna re-download it. Please tell me you're gonna download it again.
just to make sure it's less than a gig.
Yes, I think we need to. I think we need to
Let's
just
verify.
just double check.
If you did that, like, I think Matt would find it hilarious.
That's what I'm saying.
It's recorded here.
A cosmic justice.
A cosmic justice. I mean, that's quite an interesting kind of justice.
Do you want me to clone them?
No. Go to the URL and then there'll be a command to clone. This is like an instruction for a spy. Go to the escalator. At the escalator, you'll find a silver briefcase. Pick up the silver briefcase. If you walk into the train station, you'll see a man wearing a fedora. You can't miss him. It's got a feather in it. Once you see the man with the fedora, you need to open the silver briefcase and throw it at him. I don't know. I made
Poor
a.
guy with a
I made-
with a fedora on, man.
I made a hobby out of creating these bizarre spy.
Am I a member or anonymous?
You're anonymous. Sorry. This is the actual project.
Do I clone it in a terminal or is it some Emacs Meetup?
You could use Emacs, but rather let's just start simple here and clone it in the terminal somewhere where you write code.
What's that command to get limited depth and you get it's like minus depth 1?
Oh yes,
Might make it a
you
bit
could do
faster
that.
to use.
-- depth 1. So let's.
Might be. I'm so confused with something else. I have some other obscure name for it, but it's basically depth.
You don't want to clone Alpa, hey? That's like all the GNU packages. Is it -- depth 1?
I think so.
Let's see.
Just your man gives your.
So we want depth. It searched ahead to depth, apparently.
Why don't you do meta XML?
Here we are. Create a shallow clone with a history truncated to the specified number of commits. Hey!
Yeah.
You could go -- depth 1 and then it'll be faster, but I don't know if you've already started cloning.
No.
Like so.
All eyes on Louis.
The pressure is
Why
on.
is that even doing it?
Because no one else sort of thought to bring a laptop. I didn't put it in the notes or anything.
No.
But this is sort of the formative Emacs Meetup experience here. And what happens tonight will shape everyone's future for many years to come because you're going to be coming to this meetup.
With laptops next time.
Maybe, if you want.
Don't tend to
And a lot of
Emacs.
data for training.
Hmm?
And a lot of data for training.
Yes.
I don't think it would have the power.
So I heard Louis will be the only one with a laptop for many years to come.
That laugh.
And the rest of us will watch him and make him feel awkward.
Too old for that.
You've been awkward for too long already.
Okay, so it's climbing.
Okay, cool. With depth 1.
Yes.
Let's see how quickly that goes.
Did you time
Yeah, now.
Okay, cool. So it's running. I guess it's counting objects right now, right?
It's just
Something like that.
that.
Okay. Cool. So I'm going to move this across here so we can sort of refer to it quickly like that. Right. So I'm going to have to zoom in on just about every buffer. Let me go to, you're not going to see all of those, my from source directory. And on my Mac, I don't have much that I've built from source yet. This is the Emacs project. Okay. And, are you there yet, Lou?
More than 50, 60, 62, 64.
Oh, it's going really fast.
It's tiny. It's going to
Kick
be
ass
like
phone too, man.
50.
Nice.
50 meg.
I'm sure the gaming laptop is making a huge difference. Is it turning everything into a game?
Oh, no, that was.
That's
No, that was it. It's 39 megs.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you have like 30
Yeah.
years of good history.
Yes. No, so it was on Bazaar.
Oh.
And then before it was on Bazaar, it was on VCS. Because that was a tool. And I think that statement is accurate in 2 ways. Like, you could interpret it 2 ways. Okay. So if you open up Emacs, cool, and you hit Control X, Control F, then you'll see in the little area at the bottom that you can enter a path. So just go over to your project.
Do we just climb?
Yeah. Louis is moving across to the clone. I'm repeating some things because the recording can't hear like the whole room necessarily. It could, but I have to make sure.
There you
Right.
go.
I feel like I could almost be like commentating on the situation.
For people that can't see, though.
Stuart leans in towards the laptop. It's giving helpful information.
Emacs.
Apparently, a beer they knew all that fucking traversing Germany.
That's why I brought you.
Okay.
They have made it to Emacs.
I can see the
Probably not
project.
very cool.
Okay, cool. So we are going to go into the source directory, not libsource, but source itself. I'm going to get some of that sauce.
How do I navigate in here?
So just hit enter on it. Move the point there and hit enter, and you are now inside, and now it lists all of the files.
Goodbye, Jeffrey.
Is that going to be the running joke from now on? He opened a file. Goodbye, JetBrains.
That was when I killed JetBrains.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open an arbitrary C file, and you can choose your own, Louis, if you like. But mine is buffer. I've chosen buffer. Buffer is a C file which contains all of the primitives for buffers in Emacs. You got a whole bunch of C code here.
Ed, where can I find the bathroom? Sorry.
Oh no. Take my card, which I don't have with me. Someone give him a card. So you need to exit
Yes.
to go to the bathroom.
Oh, we're gonna do that.
Just bring it back.
I'm
He's
just
just got the
gonna
master key.
The puzzle is figuring out which key opens the door. And then if you exit and just go straight, you'll find the magical destination.
You didn't just spell sock 2, you spelled sock me.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to go through the items on this list that we need to sort of get more familiar with to understand how Emacs is used to develop C in order. So I don't know why I have crossref first. I keep on calling it xref. Crossref first, but I do. So that has a prerequisite. So to use crossref, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit meta X, that's Alt and then X on modern machines, and then I'm going to type eShell. And that brings up a shell inside of Emacs.
Could you use normal shell?
I could.
One of the great things for me about eShell is I started using it when I was on a Windows machine. You suddenly have a Linux-like shell, even though you're technically on Windows.
Yes,
And you
it's
can
amazing.
evaluate Lisp in eShell. Where you can just type in Lisp once.
If I can type it.
Yeah, being privy at the time.
So there we go, there's some Lisp. And you can also do things like find file of here, and that'll open this up because that's finding file of here. So all of the commands in Emacs are accessible here. Okay, so what we want to do is go one directory up, and then we want to make, which I really hope Louis has on his machine.
No, why would I do it? Why would I have that? This is a brand new machine, man.
Windows.
Yeah, don't even have Linux installed.
So what you want to do is make tags, and that will generate tags databases for all of those directories which are important in Emacs, and it's quite sophisticated. It includes a lot of regular expressions to pass things which sort of mean function in the Emacs project, but aren't functions in C, but they're defined in C. So it's got some stuff built in like that, and it also has some very efficient updating mechanisms where a subdirectory will refer to its parent directory's tags file, and then that, I don't think it has links back to the children, but it's a way of sort of tying the whole sort of tags databases together. And while Louis installs make,
Well, Louis Google's install Make Windows.
no, all you need to do is install, you just install like GNU Win32 or MSys.
We've reached
Just.
installing Make.
He needs make.
No, I don't think that's happening over my phone.
Is it too big? How big is it? GNU Win32. Shouldn't be big.
It's probably just like one of those massive packages.
No, it should be like a number of megabytes.
We'll go with
Gary's on
Make is
Sigma.
mature.
Yes. No, make itself to install isn't all that big, but I'm worried about all the libraries he's going to have to install. Maybe MinGW project. I mean, it's weird that there's so many different ways of doing this. There's also the 64-bit version for Windows.
Sigwin one.
No, not Sigwin. It's like their syswow thing. I don't know. What did Windows call 64-bit
I'm installing
stuff?
They have that
They
Ubuntu subsystem.
No, not even that. Oh gosh, but he could do that, but that is genuinely too big for his phone.
Unless it happens to already come in the base. Or
It doesn't.
No.
You activate it, you reboot, and it downloads a couple of gigabytes of image.
What the download of Ubuntu.
Yes.
But installing Ubuntu doesn't have a couple gigabytes of image.
It does now. I mean, they gave up on the CD thing like a few years ago.
I mean, now that Microsoft has bought GitHub, we can expect all projects to grow by about a gig, and to sometimes crash.
Yes.
Select packages.
You want all of it.
It is exactly what I thought. It's got everything. Well, I can.
So you need
That's what I get for
GCC
doing Sigma.
and you need make.
I need Make, you say.
Make and GCC. Stuart's having a fun time there.
You can search for both of them and I don't come
They're
out.
not in the list of Sigma. Oh my god.
Okay.
Ruby, it's got Python, Lua,
What?
but it doesn't have to.
Maybe you do need to use MinGW. Gosh. Or maybe MinGW is in the list?
Maybe Make and
No, this is-
GCC is just
Color GCC.
by default there.
Maybe it would be quicker to
On Windows?
No.
And then on wherever is.
Oh, it could be, yeah. You don't even get to select whether you get it.
Yeah.
So I mean, GCC is a pretty basic thing that you kind of need.
Yeah. Well,
If
I
you're
mean,
gonna
all of
compile
the
something from source.
a lot of the packages in GNU Win32 are pre-built.
Yeah, that's something.
I'm just gonna take everything and see if it
Very brave and we'll see tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, does it show how big the size is? See, if you do choose to heroically abandon this task, then we can just continue here on my machine.
If you have selected everything,
No.
that is a lot of stuff.
No, that was a mistake.
Okay.
Mistakes were made.
Does
No,
it cancel?
it's not. I don't know. I would think that, but you keep going.
Okay. Cool. So let's take a look at what a tags file looks like.
But it's
So the Vim corner will also be familiar with a tags file, but this tags file is a slightly different format because it's the Emacs format for tags files. So you can actually tell C tags --Emacs or -E, and it builds for Emacs. So here we are inside of the tags file, and what I'm going to do is go back into source, and I'm going to meta x visit tags table, and that tags table will be sources tags table. And now, if I sort of go onto a blank line, I can find definitions of many things. So this will be a table of anything which has been tagged in the project, and it's busy making a completion list because this is big. And what I'm going to do is just zoom in here for everyone to see. So these are all the methods and stuff. It kind of gets a bit out of line. And we can go and jump to anything here. And I think that the built-in e-tag stuff is still at work here in terms of... No. Find definitions of these days is definitely part of Crossref, but it used to be in the tags stuff. So I can go over to the function exponent. And this f in front of it means that it's defined in C. And what we find is indeed it's a defun, which if you write in the Emacs Lisp, I don't know why emojis just appeared. Oh, it's because I bound command to meta normally, so I keep using that. But control command space brings up emojis in OSX, hidden features. So here we are. And
Emacs is good at rendering emojis.
yes.
Emojify mode.
Well, I can actually also just insert an emoji in this port. I can do this, and it struggles a little bit. Wait.
Is it even there?
Okay. In vanilla Emacs, it might have a problem, but in my customized one, it actually ends up working.
Oh.
So, crossref, right, so I found a definition there. I can also show where it gets used. So I hit meta question mark there, and now it's prompting me for... I don't think I can enlarge the mini... Okay, I can enlarge the mini buffer, but it doesn't really help. Right, here we go. Enlarge the mini buffer a bit more.
Doesn't matter.
No, it is. It's too big.
Holy crap. Okay.
It has to think about it.
Okay, it's sort of a bit problematic there. So it's asking me to find definitions of something, and that something defaults to whatever the pointer's on, and that pointer's on the function exp. So I can see where that gets used. And in fact, it gets used once as the fexp there. So you can see it's finding references of things that are functions, but they're not really functions because they're C functions which are addressable from Lisp, but they're defined in C for performance reasons. So I can go ahead and navigate across to fexp, and it turns out that it's just externing the symbol, really. So let's go ahead and find something more interesting throughout the project, like extract float from arg. And here we go. We've got all of the references here. And in this buffer, it's a special buffer, so you don't need to hold down control while you use things, because inserting text doesn't make sense in the results of a cross-reference search. So if I hit N and P, what happens, and I'll make these buffers here a bit bigger, and I really wish I could silence that TV. What happens is that it will jump between the various hits in the project, just hitting N and P here, and it highlights where it's used there. So we've got extract float called a couple of times there. So there we go. We can navigate, we can find symbols, we can jump to definition. Well, let me actually prove that to you. So here we are at a usage, and I'm going to jump to the definition. Bam! With tags. This is technology from a long time ago, and it's working darn well. It tends to work less well with something like Java, where you've got a million methods called getName. Because when that happens, it's like, ooh, I'm not sure which getName you're talking about, because it has no idea about the language. It just knows that there are functions called getName. So it lists the options for you. So that's still a way of getting around. And technically, right now, I can use that in our Scala project, right here. Because I've got a setup for tags in our project, in case I ever need it, which I do for finding usages in general. Right, so that is crossref. The next thing is grep. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grep for return anything and then arg. So it should match this line down here, and it should match some others in the project as well. So I'm going to go vc git grep, and then I'm going to go return, well, I should capitalize it, dot star. You can't see what's going on there, I'm sorry. And then arg, and it's asking me what type of file I want to search in, and for me it's any, so I'm going to make the glob pattern star. And it's asking what directory to grep from, and I'm going to grep in source. And here we go. That grep finished pretty darn quickly. And now I have a list of hits throughout the project. Now keep in mind that Emacs is a huge project, really. So getting grep results that quickly is not bad. And for some reason, running git grep twice in a row, the second time, it's much, much faster. You can see it finishes almost immediately. So it does sometimes put things like IntelliJ's search to shame in our project. I don't know why it's so slow sometimes, but grepping I find to be much, much faster. I don't think that's true in general. Okay, you'll find some arbitrary stuff some weird stuff in this code. Like this is a doc here, and you will find it in your Emacs if you look for the help on tan. But it's a comment in C, which is pretty funky. That's the macro doing something there. Anyway, so we managed to go through these hits, and what I can do to step between them is go meta G, meta P, and meta G, meta N, and it will step through them. And I've got a little indicator, and I'm going to use this and see if it can point at a screen. It can't point at a screen. It sort of disappears. Okay, it also gets reflected over there. And to make sure that people can see it, this is OS. It's there! Cool. Right, so that's grepping. And let's see if we can move through this a little bit quicker now. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go into the body of a function here, and I'm going to prove that you can do completion. And this completion is going to be based on tags. Okay, cool. So I must have mistyped it there. So I've typed ROU, and then I've hit Control Meta I, and by default, if you hit a completing function in Emacs multiple times in a row, then it brings up one of these buffers, which is meant to just sort of prompt you about the options, but you can always just go and click on them. So I've got them here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger still. Do that, and I can say, yeah, I meant to say roundup size, and then there we go, there's a completion. And this guy was defined somewhere else in the project. Here we are. It's probably not what I intended. By the way, you can navigate back from where you jumped to. So jumping is meta dot. Jumping back is meta comma. So that'll sort of get you back from wherever you went to. And there's also a thing called the global mark ring, but I don't think I want to cover that right now. That does something slightly different. Right, so you can complete. You can find a file in a project. Surprisingly, this is a recent addition because people were still using things like locate in vanilla Emacs. So you can go project, find file. And on the initial invocation, it's going to be a little bit slow. And thereafter, it'll be fast. So I'm going to make this big, and then I'm going to look for the file I'm in by giving it the glob pattern star OA star, and then trying to complete it. And you'll see it gives the common prefix and puts the point where it should be to complete. So it got rid of the second star and says you need to type something to complete this completion. And now it's saying it completes to multiple things, which are these. So I could go for loading.techi, which is a documentation file. And there we go. I completed to that file. So that's how you use project find file with the vanilla completion system. It uses glob patterns. A lot of people don't know this and they think it's just plain old bash completion. It does some very fancy things for you. For instance, that command project find file, in the sort of little area down here, down at the bottom, you get the same sort of completion mechanism where the candidates are shown in another buffer. And it's the same function to complete them. And what that function will do is it'll take short reads of the things that it won't just complete from the front or complete with glob patterns. If you've got multiple words, it'll complete the words individually. So here I'm going to go PFF because dash is a word separator. And that should complete a project find file, but it's showing me that it could complete to some other things that I've never heard of because this is Emacs. PRPS fast fire, jeepers. Profiler find profile other frame. Okay, so I want find file other frame, so I'm going to go that. And now this is quite cool. It's recognized that there are still two options, and it's put the point where you could type to get another option, and it's completed as much as it can so that it still matches both of those options.
Is it the tab auto completion or what did you do?
Tab. So I just hit tab twice there to prove this point. So it put the point over here, just after the word project, and we can see that project find file or project or external find file are the two options. So there we go. Project find file is the thing that I was looking to do, and it would find a file. Cool. That's finding a file. Now we're going to go through VC, and then I'm going to show you how to use line numbers, and then very quickly we're going to do cQuery because I still want some time to play a game at the end. I think I might ditch writing the C function. I mostly put that in there because I was afraid that this segment might not be long enough.
Louis' laptop solved that.
Okay. Thank you, Louis. Okay. So for version control, there is a built-in system, and it's on the prefix Control X V, and then there are a couple of options. So I'm going to hit question mark at this point, which is something you can do in general in Emacs. There's some very long key bindings. At any point in the key binding, you can hit question mark, and it'll show you what the options are for completing that key binding. So here we go. Here are the different things that you can do under the Control X V key binding, which are all VC related. So you can update, diff, root diff, ignore, log incoming, etc., etc. Log incoming is quite cool because if you're about to pull and you know what and you want to find out what you're going to get, you can get it to quickly log what the diff is, and you can see I'm going to get these commits if I pull now, and it will do this stuff. But what we're interested in is seeing the status of this project, because that's kind of mostly what we do. So this isn't Magit, but it looks kind of familiar. And this is what you get in vanilla Emacs. And from here, the thing to do is the next thing. It's a very simple mode of operation. You only ever do the next thing. So the next thing, when nothing depends on what's in this buffer. If things are staged, the next thing is commit. If things are unstaged, then commit whatever's on the current line. And if you've got a couple of options, you can mark a bunch of things and then do next thing and it will stage those, and then do next thing and it will commit those. So as a demo here, I'm just going to mark that and I'm going to do next thing. So it staged it. And then I'm going to do next thing again. And now we are committing. And I can view a diff of this as well, but I forget what the binding is. So here I have a summary, and then I can put an author in, and people generally don't know that actually you can add your own fields here. So I'm going to say that blah is something, and then you can have your extended commit message. These keys here may or may not have support in your version of Git, and people apparently compile their own versions of Git with support for more keys, I think, because in some projects you get it. Otherwise what they're doing is they're putting the keys in there and then they're interpreting it using some other software through the log. But things like author are supported, so you can say that this commit has a different author. So you're committing it, but it's on behalf of someone. So what it'll say is that you're the committer and he's the author, which is a very useful thing to do. Anyway, you can write a summary here like, yay, Emacs Meetup. And it would get rejected by the Emacs mailing list because you're breaking all the rules. And then I'll say that the author is us. We did it. Okay, and then if I hit Control-C, Control-C, that tends to be the I'm in a special buffer, do the thing command. We're getting knowing nods from people who've used a lot of Emacs.
I've been in the buffer at that.
It's this weird sort of concept. How do you describe it to people? I'm in a buffer where something can be done, and that thing can be done with Control-C, Control-C.
If you don't want to do it, then Control-C, Control-K.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that works there too.
That means copy or kill in the terminal. That one means do the thing in Emacs.
Yes. Oh gosh. Okay. So that's VC. And then line numbers. So the controversial feature. We're catering to the people who've been who've been pampered by IDEs and they've been spoiled completely.
What's the difference? You just count it yourself.
No, you don't need them. So, I mean, if you have to go to a line number, then you go Control-G, Control-G, and you enter in like 1, 2, 3, and you go to that line.
Like, I thought
Or you go next level and you realize that the universal argument can be given ahead of any command, and you go meta 1, 2, 3, Control-G, Control-G, and bam, it would do it if I was, I mean, messagey would do it. There we go. But like, it sort of just takes up screen real estate, is the reason. So, let's turn them on, these new line numbers, and the way to do that is something like turn on global line numbers mode. Global display line numbers mode. And there we go, we have line numbers. And these are rendered just about the fastest that there is out there, provided that you don't have any long lines, because long lines are a problem for Emacs. When I say long, I mean like 20,000 to 100,000 characters long. which you generally don't find in your source code, but if you do find them, they tend to slow Emacs down a bit, and that's a topic for a whole other night.
Opened up a JSON payload from DocuSign.
Yeah, and
all the one line and everything fell over.
But you can hit Control G a bunch, and then it will quit loading the file. Anyway,
That's a thing.
Glorious.
it's a funny one. I'm going to turn line numbers off. That's enough of that.
I need that.
And yeah, so there we go. Now, I just want to spend a quick moment before we get to a game. I mean, I know we're approaching the end here. I want to talk about something called the Language Server Protocol. And I think a lot of people will have heard of this. Who has? Hands up, maybe? Okay, cool. Right. So I think that this is going to change the way that we write code in the future. It's a standard created, ironically, by Microsoft. I say ironically because it's totally open and it's pretty good.
Wait a second.
Wait, what? What did you just say?
Ed, is it TS server? Is that
TS Server is an LSP implementation. So what it is, I'm not actually going to install it. I have that all sort of lined up to do, but we'll run out of time for Vim Golf, which is our game coming up. So Language Server Protocol, the idea is that you write a program in the language that you're going to be writing code in, because you generally have access to features that let you know more about the language if you write it in that language. So for example, you can use, in Java, you can use reflection to find out what the methods on an object are, to find out whether something would compile, and that kind of stuff. You can actually just use the active session to figure these things out. For C, it's a matter of exposing the abstract syntax tree, which is something that GCC has never done because they've been afraid that big corporates would steal it, and I think back in the day, rightly so, but nowadays it's less of an issue, I think. But the LLVM project has exposed ways of doing that. So you can navigate. So there's a great LSP for C based on LLVM, and it works perfectly in Emacs. And I would have shown you that and some of the fancy features there that you can get. You can preview the code that it came, the code around the definition of the thing at point. You can jump around. You get semantically accurate completions. It all just works out of the box. So it's pretty amazing. And these things are fast and decoupled from your editor. So it really sort of makes you wonder where IDEs fall into the future, because we're going to get just about all of the features on a lightweight tool. And a lot of these, the core functionality for these things is being brought into big time by the Emacs mailing list. That's a big thing because they only ever go for tech, which, I mean, there are a bunch of incredibly experienced guys there, and I think something must be said for their ability to, you know, give, I mean, their sort of experience and their input on making a decision about a particular technology. So they've already sort of said this is a cool thing and we should probably buy into it, and they're starting to integrate libraries to make it faster. And in the future, Emacs will only do this better, but right now it does it well enough with what's out there. And the support is all over the show. You can get it for TypeScript, JavaScript, you can get it for Scala, you can get it for Java, you can get it for C, C++, Rust. Anything you can think of, there's pretty much a language server out there for it. Even Vim connects to language servers, and so in Vim you can get some of these features. Although some of the stuff that gets built on top of that is the reason why you would want to hang around in Emacs, because, I mean, the standard's all very good and well, but you've still got this philosophy to Emacs. Right, so that's a little bit of a rant about language servers, or a talk. Now, Vim Golf. Okay, this is quite cool. There is a website out there to which people submit challenges. And the challenge is that you have to go from starting text to end text in as few keystrokes as possible, because the premise is that real Vim ninjas count every keystroke. Now, you can play this from Emacs because there's a client, built-in. I mean, you can install it and play it straight from Emacs, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to go to the site here and show you how it looks. And my idea here really is to hook up this keyboard and hot seat some people playing some Vim Golf on rounds and see how well we can do. We are sort of running out of time, so if anyone needs to leave, that's fine. But otherwise, let's play a game.
The worst that can happen is the train closes.
Oh, yes. But I'm close enough that I can Uber, so...
I'm also going that way anyway.
So do you need to head out, Louis?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, it's
Show me
unfortunate.
them golf tomorrow.
I'll show you some.
I will
Cool.
get it out, but I want to just stay a little bit and see what's going on.
See what it looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I'll leave it another inconvenient time.
Okay. So what I'm going to call out to here is Vim Golf Browse, and I've listed some challenges that we might be interested in. The first of which is the very first, because I think it's a nice simple challenge. So I'm calling Vim Golf Browse, and it creates this list of challenges. Right. So the first one on the list is simple, practical, and common. Incidentally, this particular extension did not work when I fired up Emacs at home to test this, and I quickly hacked away at it last night and got it just working. It was magical. Okay, they were the Vim Golf server was replying with YAML, and they used a regular expression to scan forward to the key that they were interested in, and then they just said like copy from here to end of line, and that's the value. They never parsed the YAML, and the Vim Golf changed their format to JSON, so that didn't work anymore. So I just quickly threw it a JSON parsing library because there's a great one built into Emacs. It's lightning fast. It's written in C, and it probably competes with Node. And yeah, after doing that, I could very quickly get this thing up and running. So here we go. We've got to go from the buffer on the left to the buffer on the right. And so I'm going to start out tonight, and I'm going to say that the first thing we should do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forward. Cool. Then I'm going to start the mark, and I'm going to go forward by 2. Why is... oh, dang it. Key bindings are different in my proper Emacs. So I'm going to have to restart the challenge. I'm sorry. There we go. It's restarted. I just forgot what the prefix to it was. It's Control-C, Control-V, and then something. So R is restart. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead by 5. I'm going to start the mark, and then I'm going to go 2 words forward. I'm going to copy, next line, open line, paste, backspace 7, space 11. Then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forward. And I'm going to go new line, open line, new text, and that'll be my submission. And now I only got this thing working again last night, and the counting of keystrokes is still a little bit iffy, but I don't think that's the main point of this. Let's see whether it works.
Golf away.
That was supposed to be submit.
It says golf away at the bottom.
Vim Golf submit. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it says that I got it in 11 keystrokes, but it's not counting the right thing. So let me restart that one.
Is meta X 1 or 2 keystrokes?
Yeah, it was. So it stopped counting, and then I did the submit, and it started counting again. So it's really iffy. This package was definitely hacked together quickly, and I intend on fixing it because this is a very fun thing to do. So I'm just gonna quickly, whoops. So you'll see an extra keystroke there.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it! It was 7 forward. So you're gonna see a bunch of mistakes here, but And I just reset it. Let's try that again.
Do you have that?
And I failed again. Okay, so 26, apparently. Next line, set mark, forward word. Sounds about right. So does anyone want to give this a bash?
I'll give it a bash. Can I
Okay,
use
cool.
your Dvorak code there, please?
Yes, you can.
Thanks, people. I'll be off.
See,
Cheers.
I have not made myself
Cheers.
Redundant.
redundant. I
will
can
tell
still
you,
work with A.
You have made yourself redundant because Ed's not on our team.
Identifying keyboard.
Oh.
Okay, please hit the key immediately to the right of the shift key. Key immediately left to that? Okay, cool. That sounds right.
Figure out if it's an iOS.
Looks like unseen. It's cool.
So just type some stuff to see whether it's working.
What type of keyboard?
Yes, that looks like okay, just another thing. Oh, that's caps lock. Ah, I'll have to
Did it-
remember that.
Okay,
Cheers.
I think it only changed on my keyboard.
Oh, okay, that's my
Cheers, Stuart.
Cheers.
Do you have a way of getting out?
That's all I want to do.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is Alt.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for coming. Hope to see you again at another one.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Alt is not Alt.
Oh, sorry.
Meta is not meta.
It's because I have done things to this email.
Please! Like you made, like I thought I played Dvorak, but your computer's still unusable to me. How do
Okay.
I do this?
Do it from this Emacs. That's all fine.
Okay, but does that have the Vim golf in?
So what you need to do is meta x load file.
Is that the right one?
I think so, yeah. Like redundant is when there's more than one.
Load dash file, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We replaced with another program.
So now you want to go tilde dot em.d
What?
tilde slash
Yeah.
dot em.d
dot em.d
slash l slash q.
slash L
No. So l slash q
L slash Q
slash vimgolf
I don't know how to spell
golf. No, just vimgolf, one word. You just need the G and it'll complete.
Alright.
So put the C in there for compiled.
Wait, what about?
Type C. Enter. Okay. Meta X vimgolf browse. So this is on a vanilla Emacs.
Browse.
Contacting vimgolf.com at port 80. Okay, so simple, practical, and common. Go.
I'm in caps lock here, I think. Oh well, it's gonna have to count. So we wanna go.
Okay, wait, well, he might lose keystrokes by doing that.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is just sort of say out loud what you're doing.
Alright, well, 1, 2, 3. Wait. Well, I don't want to make it bigger. That's also counting for keystrokes. One,
So it was
2,
5.
3. Is it 5 down?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a weak
Whoops.
keyboard.
Okay, you want to restart that. So,
And caps lock. Oh, this is impossible. This is impossible.
I'm sorry, that keyboard is... Okay, let me try set up that keyboard for you, because
Can't I just use that one? Wouldn't that be easier?
you could if you like.
No,
Just
I'll try that one. I don't
um,
need a numpad and arrows, it's fine.
wait, but hang on. I'm pretty sure I can switch it on that.
Next time I'll bring my own keyboard, then I'll know exactly how it works.
So which keyboard is this now?
Kevin, if you read your own keyboard, you'll have like a Dvorak input going through the Dvorak filter on his machine.
Yeah, but you can just switch it back to QWERTY.
Do you like Dvorak spread?
I don't know what that would do.
Doing that, and it's hella confusing. I confused myself so much there. Is that better now?
Okay, give it a bash. Control E.
Yes, that works.
Okay, so
Great.
just vimgolf like restart. I think just see what's there.
Revert.
Revert. Go. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Okay, so it's 5, I think.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Control U5.
He binds control to caps lock.
Oh, Control U5 should do it. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that's forward.
You might want to restart. It's Control C. Okay, you can just revert like that. Okay.
So
You went Control 5, Control D.
I'm useless today. I'm out.
It's the beer, right?
Yeah.
It's totally the beer. Does anyone else want to step forward?
Like, if there's no evil, I literally won't know what to do.
Let's install evil.
If there's no Space Max, I literally won't know what to do.
Okay. Justin, will you step forward and?
I suppose I'm going to have to.
Challenge.
Okay, so he's giving it a bash. New line. Paste or yank,
Yeah.
but that should have been a 7.
Oh.
Dun dun dun.
Oh well.
Oh no.
I've tried. And then what? 1, 2, 3 down. Control U3. Next. The text.
Full stop, new line.
And then what?
Control C,
Control C.
Control V, C. Oh, that does that thing. Just Vimgolf submit.
$42.
42. Sorry.
Oh, you still win.
My condolences.
So what I tried is to do control.
Just
letter,
wait before you go.
Space.
I need to switch to QWERTY.
Thank you.
So something that you're unaware of, Kevin, is that you don't need to give the universal argument in order to feed the number to a command. You can omit Control U. You can just go Control 1, 2, and that'll give 12 to the next thing.
I'm not too sure how that works. I've never used that before.
So there we go. We're learning things.
I've heard about it, but I haven't physically used it before.
So Control 5N. That takes me down there.
So then if you go Control Mesa space, then you mark the next word. So you could go Control 2, Control Mesa space. Is that what command you're going for?
I was gonna just hit Control Meta Space twice.
That's what I was also thinking.
I think it's equivalent.
Does it count it as 3 keystrokes each time then?
It'll count it as 2.
So
Either way.
Okay.
like that. Then copy.
Actually, can we try setting up evil? I'm actually pretty keen for try after this.
Yeah, cool.
The most efficient way to end up. How do I do this in this key?
This is a good question.
So I think if I actually just dump it here, right, and go back, and then put my line break in, that is the wrong way around.
Yes.
Now you can go Control X, Control T to transpose the lines.
Bam.
Hey, well, that works.
Okay. So now I want.
3 is the next number.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's visual lines.
Yeah. Actually, there must be a better way of doing new text than what we've been doing.
I think there probably is, because the top score on this is the top score is obviously a hack. Because if I go to the website now, you'll see someone got this in 2 moves.
There's no way this could be in 2
And
moves.
the top scores don't list the moves. Only the scores below, like the top 20, do they give the actual sequence of Vim key bindings to get it.
Wasn't it less than 42?
I think that it's actually a bug, because remember, the recording is pretty horrible.
Also, it says at the bottom, you solved in 0 keystrokes.
Yeah, so there's definitely a bug going on here. I think what you got it in was basically equivalent to mine.
Yeah. Well,
With a little bit of a roundabout thing.
No, not line
And
number.
there's
The
the
fancy
leads.
new line number.
Okay, global display line numbers.
Oh, yes. Then we can see that from 10 to... That is roughly.
Okay, what you might want to do is a pretty
Hmm.
Vim-ish hack here. No, the counting, those are actually Kevin's moves.
Yeah.
I think it's forgotten to
Um.
refresh the state between these.
You know what? It's,
This package is a total hack, but it's still fun. And I'll fix it up
Control meta,
and for the
yeah,
next meetup.
I've still been meaning to give Vimgolf a proper try. I just haven't.
So this is sort of like the entry thing, and for the next one, I'm going to make sure that it you can
Works.
set a particular zoom, and I'll give it a few tries here to make sure that we can have some fun playing Vim Golf,
That would be awesome.
because it's a good way of learning key bindings as well.
We should, Ed, just set up Space Max, and everyone
That's
just has
important.
their little dot Space Max file. So.
If only there's some sort of .NET file.
No.
So I'm open to creating multiple setups here, and I'll even keep a little Vim thing running to do this kind of stuff, so Vim people can submit.
For the Vim naughty corner.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to find evil quickly. I'm just finding evil, don't worry.
Get him the Dvorak evil.
No.
That would be evil.
Hence what I say. Oh, there's evil Dvorak down there. No Dvorak.
Evil Dvorak?
Touch my
Yeah.
computer, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll just go and overwrite it in your space max. It'll be great. It won't know thing. It'll just be like I can't type anymore.
I'll just take
Give up.
away your keyboard and you won't be able to use your
No,
computer.
I'll just switch my built-in keyboard over to Dvorak. Then.
Okay, so we have evil mode, and I'm going to just test it quickly. Okay, Meta X evil mode. And there's an N at the bottom. Is this to be expected?
I'm not gonna lie, I basically use Space Max for everything, so whatever the layer normally does.
So if I hit I, it does go into insert.
Things are working.
And if I hit escape,
It does
I'm
go
in
into command mode.
N.
That's in normal mode.
Yes, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then let's see if Meta X still works. I'm going to get out of evil mode.
There's a lot of crash
So that I
tests
can
going on.
browse.
No, we have an evil mode, a giant N for neocortex.
Okay, so let's fire up evil mode.
Let me go to the keyboard.
Would it not be
Is it-
better?
We are in normal mode.
Oh, fuck! Do I have to count my keystrokes for entering evil?
No, we're in evil mode.
Oh, are we in evil mode?
It's-
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
It's in normal
From
mode.
here it's fine, but we're in normal. We're not in
We're in
insert.
mode.
Ooh, duplicate line down. That's an interesting one.
What is it? 7 space 11.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, now Meta X,
What am I doing? Next.
Meta P. Just keep Meta Ping until we see Vimgolf submit. Not browse. That would rubbish your attempt.
Vimgolf
Okay,
submit.
cool. And what we see here is execute. Okay, so what we can count here is from here, evil next line onwards. So let's just quickly do an exercise of counting this. So I'm going to switch to Dvorak,
And out of evil mode.
and then I'm going to leave evil.
Aww.
If I can meta X. I can't meta X.
Didn't you change meta back to what it used to be?
No, not in this.
Oh, I don't know where X is on a Dvorak keyboard.
B.
Oh, of course, I'm in Dvorak now.
Context
This is
switching.
great. This is great. I know you get so confused when you switch between Dvorak and QWERTY.
Dude, Kevin, do you like grandpa type in QWERTY?
Yes, I do grandpa type in QWERTY now.
Whoops.
I've given up.
Okay, so meta X count words will give us lines. So you did it in 24 as well.
Woo!
Nice. So the interesting thing is that what I found is that there are obviously far fewer modifiers in Vim, but you end up with basically the same number of keystrokes.
I mean, if you count the like Control N as one keystroke, is that
that's how it's counted.
Yeah, so then, yeah, it'll end up the same.
Yeah.
Vim may actually, I think, probably be more because entering and escaping, switching modes will be an extra keystroke.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that as much as possible, you should probably be like forgetting those things to make a closer comparison.
A fair comparison, yeah.
But I mean, like, if you look at this buffer, it's pretty sort of lightweight.
Yeah.
So that's quite obvious
Yes.
already from the Vim approach compared to the Emacs approach.
There's not as many modifiers.
So let's go ahead and browse to another one. I'm going to go to agenda, find... I forgot quotes.
Ah, shit.
Okay. So, this is a pretty cool one.
Can I give it a try?
Do you want to give it a try?
I would like to give it a try.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do quickly is switch to US. Oops.
Switch to Dvorak.
And then I am going to go into evil mode. And we won't count those once again. And
Go.
here you go.
Okay, give me a second to think.
I know how I would do this one.
Okay.
Macro.
Shit!
Okay, restart. Meta X Vim Golf reverse. I like how quiet we all are.
Revert.
It's like a real golf game.
No dash between Vim and golf. Yeah.
Real golf game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And steps up to the ball. He chooses the putter despite the fact that he's on the fairway.
Give you 0 if a insert quote, big append, quote.
What fucking language is this?
So in my previous iteration, I forgot the J. That was why I said shit.
Right. then you quit the macro and run it twice.
Yes, yeah, that was my plan.
Okay.
But I forgot the J. So. What?
What was supposed to happen?
It was supposed to.
Insert quote, go to end of line, insert quote, next line, and then you run the macro again.
Run the macro twice.
Okay.
But that didn't happen.
Okay, well, you did the commands for it to happen.
I'm pretty certain I did.
Okay, let's assume that this is some finicky difference between the setup you have and
Can we
vanilla
keep the keystrokes
evil.
And Jacques can agree with me.
Yeah, so what we can do is finish this off, and we'll discard all the keystrokes until then. So just go and manually insert the stuff, because it'll refuse your submission if you get it wrong. It'll give you a buffer showing you the diffs. Yeah, it's pretty nifty.
That would be cool. Like the first time I'll just submit it just to see what actually is different.
Oh no, but there's a
what was the
binding for
command
that too.
Oh.
What's the command again?
Vim Golf submit.
Vim Golf submit. There we go.
Okay, so let's go into Dvorak, and then let's go out of evil mode. Man, that context switch.
Oh no.
Okay, so evil forward word begin.
Mm-hmm.
Record macro, insert,
Mhm.
insert command.
So that was adding the quotation.
Yeah, normal, end of line, append insert that.
Yeah.
Normal, next line,
Beginning of word.
beginning,
End recording macro.
end recording, and then forward word
I
begin,
was holding
evil
shift.
word.
I recorded the macro.
Okay,
onto
so
W.
this is your fault.
I recorded the macro onto W, and then can I try again?
Okay, you can.
Sorry, I'm hogging the keyboard. Does anybody else want to try before I do this?
So we were on. I forgot the quotes.
Okay, one more. Sorry, I'm
No, it's fine.
I'm enjoying them.
As long as everyone else is fine continuing. Does anyone want a
Oh,
beer?
we're not in evil mode.
There's some pizza left.
I'll join for a beer.
Beer? Anyone, Jock?
I'm good.
No beer?
I'm
A
good.
Coke? A
Another
Sprite?
piece of pizza though.
Cool. We'll be back.
Meta X is not doing what I think it should.
What did you do?
What
That's
did I say?
because. That's because.
So not
Borak.
Ah!
Okay, Vim Golf Browse.
Oh, that's great.
Oh god.
In fact, before you carry on, I think I'm going to can the recording now because it's just sort of like now we're playing Vim Golf. No, I'll keep it going and I can just trim it later.
Yeah.
I'll just edit this out as they always say and they never do.
You got the quotes? Well, I hope the Vim mode is preserved on the stuff. It should be. Okay.
And try Shift V JJ and then colon /A /quote A. No, there's only one character on the first line of a quote. You can't do it with a search replace of A's and also then I forget about it.
Hold on. I think my previous strategy would have worked if I hadn't held shift when I tried invoking my macro.
Okay.
So basically, I'm stupid. Okay, says recording macro. Defined.
Okay.
To at W. There we go.
Hey.
Now the magic happens.
I just missed it. It didn't really happen.
Submit, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
There's the
Although
last few with you typing submit.
actually, Vim go tab dash sub tab. Fantastic.
There's more.
Does anybody want to have a go? No one am I doing? Where is my actual?
Henry, you want to give it a bash?
I
Where's
would
my
my
actual
actual-
so much pizza?
There's my actual commands. How many is that?
There's a count command. Count something. Count words.
No, wait.
34 lines.
Wait, hold on.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right at all.
Maybe there's a count words region or something.
Can you shout out to LN?
13 lines. Who's up next?
I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Would you like the keyboard? Oh, let me leave the keyboard.
Yeah. So that's normal. It's not Dvorak or anything.
It's still on. Yeah, it's on quiz.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like I'm invading the Vim. Invading the Emacs Meetup a bit by like actually all I use is space max with evil. So I mean,
More legitimate than me though. Like
yeah, you actually just use Vim. Like I'm a very small step away from Vim. Like I'm one incremental iteration towards Emacs, but
You considered using org mode? Or did you ride back into the Emacs territory?
like I've opened it once.
So
Very good.
I would rather use org mode than Markdown.
I'm so comfortable with Markdown at this point.
The thing is with org mode you can like convert that into like
Markdown.
any file.
You can convert it to
Not just Markdown, like HTML, whatever you like.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was me holding shift like a numpty.
Okay. How many did you get?
How many did I get?
13.
13.
That is very close to the top score.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy.
I've beaten the top score on this one, I think.
Nice.
But it's because I had a mode activated where you could wrap things in quotes.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the guy who did like some of those things in like 2. I was actually just thinking someone must have just written their own EL command and bound it to a macro because like.
Yep.
They solved it.
Do you not want to restart?
A
Henry?
macro.
No, no. I'm just fiddling.
Oh, okay.
Beforehand, the 2 keystrokes were at Q.
No, because that would have been one keystroke. That's invoking a single command.
True.
So
Wouldn't this one be something like end of line back one,
Yeah.
control meta space quotes,
Yes.
and then
But it won't.
Or
This is
quotes,
fundamental mode.
so
Wrapping
there's
won't
no,
work.
There's no. Oh.
But you can use the macro.
Well, hey, okay. Yeah, you can.
Oops.
You want F4, not F3.
Yeah. So you can go.
I think maybe just restart.
He's
No,
practicing.
I'm just fiddling.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's still until you figure it out, basically.
Yeah. Oops.
Like one of my favorite features of Emacs is the control meta space, and you just keep hitting it until you get where you selected what you want to select, and then there you go.
The control meta bindings are magical.
The only thing that pissed me off is when I was on my laptop keyboard the one day, and then because the Vorax N is on L, and then I hit Control Meta L, and it passed through as Control Alt L, lock the computer. Like, fuck.
Wait, what does control meta space do? Sorry.
Control Meta Space basically selects the word.
Well,
Oh,
it marks
it's
the next symbolic. It's called mark symbolic expression.
So,
So it marks the next balanced expression.
Yeah.
I'm hitting too many.
If I hit it like
VE.
over a function, once it hits the first bracket, and you control meta space into that, it'll select that entire bracket.
Oh, it's just that's just V percentage. Come on.
Oh.
Or VI bracket.
Or VI. Oh yeah, or VI.
Okay.
Sorry, it's like
But your percentage is better because you'll jump across lines.
That's like that is one of my favorite just commands is the percentage. Just so good. What is that in Vim, by the way? Jump to accompanying bracket.
What if you're in it or
Like if you're on a
Jump
bracket,
to it.
jump to the associated bracket. In
Control
Vim, it's
N.
okay.
So
in
now
Vim
it's
just
got
percentage.
his commands.
Yeah, so let's count yours. Oh, it's only got his?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I think we have to restart.
Let's browse to it again. Because it's likely that they do something silly like
does the refresh of the
browse does, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Hopefully you remember your solution.
Yeah.
I forgot quotes. Cool.
Okay.
When you already have your macro defined, you can just play it now.
Oh yeah, that I could actually.
He could have this done in 2 keystrokes.
yeah, literally.
Control 3, repeat macro.
Yeah.
Would do it.
Actually, because all evil does is do the
If I hold control and release control, does that count as the keystroke? Because I might have done
No.
that a couple of times. Okay, cool.
So since all evil does is actually
key.
Yes, because you do it while you're thinking all the time.
Evil?
since all evil actually does is
Really
uses
annoys
the
me
actual
when Shift
Emacs
Windows
macros.
is like, did you mean
you could
say
actually just
keys?
invoke my macro as well just out of the W register.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So what is actually?
So the Vim Golf submit stuff is obviously not you. So you got it in start macro.
End of line, back expression, insert quote, end of line, insert quote, next line, back expression, macro.
Macro. Okay, so then how many is that? That's
Well, that's
darn
short.
good.
That's very short.
Does it count words?
Yeah.
11.
11.
Oh,
That is the top score, I believe. Let me check. I forgot quotes. And that's a totally legit submission because it's like plain old. I wonder, was it 3 times that you ran it? I thought it was 2.
But I finished recording with F4.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
10. 10 is the best Vim score.
Okay.
So you could probably think very hard and shave another one off, but that is a darn good score in just plain old vanilla Emacs.
So you get to use modifiers.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have to define your macro, then
If it remembered my macro, then I could just go macro.
Well-
And it will remember my macro now.
Yeah.
Let's see what that looks like.
Very impressive.
He just pressed F4 3
that.
times and he was done.
Yeah, I prepare for situations where I need to quote the last word in the line.
a lot of people hack these things. So they like make a macro the first time to do everything and record that, and then the next time they go in, they just hit the macro and it does everything, and then they get a 1 score.
That would do it.
The macro needs to include your Vim golfs a bit though, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then it's 2.
that was a legit 7. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the next one I have on this list here is just the middle. Do we want to do that one, or maybe skip ahead to collect list and make that the last for the night?
Maybe. Well, I don't know. What do
Let's-
people think?
Let's do collect list.
Okay.
And then if we want to carry on, we can carry on. But it's sort of getting a bit late.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very simple. We've got a starred list here, and we just want to transform it into a list with commas in between. I like how everyone goes quiet and we're like,
It's just comments, right?
no commas at the end.
Yes.
Is there any character at the beginning on the other end? No.
How do you enter evil?
Meta X, so Alt X,
Evil.
evil mode. That's Excel.
So one way is to delete the first stop, first of all,
And then do.
and then replace
yes,
the
that's what I
stars
was
with
thinking.
commas
Yeah.
somehow.
And
And then
you can
just
actually
get
replace all
the new line characters.
I think I've got a
new line
good way to do it
character
as well. That's
star space with
Yeah.
with commas. Yes.
But you have to delete.
Yeah,
the
that was
first
literally
star.
what I was thinking.
Oh, he doesn't
Ooh,
even
okay.
want the slides.
I wasn't thinking that.
Control V and then what's it? Shift.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
J,
Let him do his submission.
and then
He's doing the
big
Yeah.
A
yeah
thing,
escape.
escape.
What?
And then, oh fuck, that's caps lock. Shit, it's bound to the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's
Escape works though. Caps lock did nothing because it's control here.
Oh, thank goodness.
I think there's the fundamental difference between Emacs and Vim users is Vim users-
Control is
Yeah,
escape
caps lock
versus
is-
yeah.
And 4 shift. Fuck, it was 5.
You got
An
spaces.
extra comma and a space. Oh, where's the
Spaces in between all of them. Meta X evil submit. I mean, sorry, Vim Golf submit. No dash.
Where did the spaces come from?
No,
They were
shift
there.
J puts in a space if
Does
you
it?
merge lines. Yeah.
I didn't know it put a space in. I thought Shift J was literally just gun gun gun.
It does if it's closing brackets.
Is there a shortcut key binding for replace?
Okay, this is quite a lot.
Yeah.
This is on line 72. I don't think that's as many as
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
77. But you were doing well.
Yeah.
Do you not want to give it another bash?
No, I don't think the visual block thing is actually very
Do
efficient.
you want if I
So
can I get
is
a-
there
Okay.
like a built-in shortcut for MX replace string?
on my normal Emacs thing.
Yeah,
So that's what I
makes
did.
sense to do that because
Yeah.
that'll cut your keystrokes.
What I would do is
'Cause
search. You need to use the interactive search equivalent. I've learned since then. So search for the thing you want to replace, and then meta percentage will replace the thing you were searching for with whatever you type.
Oh, okay.
So you can give that a bash now
Yeah.
as your
Cool, because then, yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
And
hitting
he
control?
takes the keyboard.
He's not
do
hitting
this.
control, he's clearly not.
You can do the search replace thing. That would be cool to go like XX 5. So XX deleting the first star space, 5J, and then search for a star space and replace it with a comma.
So the 5J is to repeat it 5 times on the next line.
So 5J will jump 5
J,
characters
so
down.
that'll merge all the lines, which will make them all the items separated by like a space.
Oh, that's
star
a good idea.
space. Then you can search for space star
Okay.
space
And replace it. Mm.
Okay, so
You still have to get 3 keys in order to replace 3.
okay, and now we're gonna
No,
do.
you-
It's a star
Put a G at the end,
space
so-
star space. We want to replace space star space with
Comma.
comma.
So colon s / Oh, you don't need to go to the start line.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you did, but you're in
I did-
insert.
I did the wrong thing.
You also deleted I.
I did the wrong
Now you're
thing.
next line, previous line. Oh
I'm
no!
just gonna quickly go.
It's all gone south.
I'm just gonna go.
Ant
quickly-
was looking so promising, but at the last minute, it's all gone south.
He's having a stroke!
Bingo. Ah.
What?
It's a stroke.
Oh
He
yes.
just like stroke out, but no, he's having a stroke.
Were you going to use the previous command?
/ space star space. Forward. Okay.
That was a weird.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's because I haven't set up evil properly.
/ comma.
Yeah, but G. That
Did not work.
did not work.
Because star is
Oh,
in
it's
your.
a one! I
No,
need to
it's a
escape the
reject.
star.
It's any number of spaces.
I need to
Greedily.
I need to escape the star.
That's why they use stars.
Can I give that one more?
Yes.
They really screw you, you know.
Oh man, that was so nearly great.
So if you go space dot space, then it should only match
Yes.
those things as well. And you don't have to put as many
Star.
characters to escape star.
Star is any number of spaces. That's why it didn't work. So space dot space is the correct thing to replace.
Or a thing
Yes.
to replace. I don't know if I corrected it.
Where were we?
5J.
Stop
It's
beeping
fine.
at me. It is, like back.
No, just
asterisk, just do dot.
dot. It's a regular expression. So
because it's a single. Oh yeah, it's a single. Sorry.
Vimgolf submit. So
Where
which
did I
ones are
start?
yours?
I started with the big char. So
So you went into extended there, self-insert a whole bunch, exit mini buffer, substitutes.
Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, there we go. I'm up to there.
Mini buffer complete.
There.
Yeah.
So meta x count words. $14.
Nice.
Not too shabby. Let's see what the top Vimmers are doing. Vim ninjas. I forgot quotes, was it?
No.
No, sorry.
Collect items, mines, something collect list. No, that one.
12.
14 is not bad.
Not bad. This guy here, this llama, he's on top of almost all of them.
Damn
It doesn't have much to do in the Peruvian Andes.
He's like, he has to
just
use
spits at
them.
the
He can't
keyboard.
use modifiers.
It's the same reason for a parrot.
Oh man.
It's a bit difficult using Emacs without like modifiers and things. It's impossible.
Ooh, no, don't die. How much do we have? We got plenty. So Henry, you wanted to give this a bash, did you?
Maybe.
Oh, it's in evil.
Oh, shit.
Evil and most probably QWERTY.
Yeah, it's in QWERTY, so go ahead and...
Made it easier on my phone machine to switch between QWERTY and Devora because my Devora
Whoops.
machine uses it.
You wanted...
No,
So
sure.
just
You know, just
super space. If it doesn't work and it doesn't type how you want it, just hit super space once, and then it'll work as you want it.
Yes, this is going to do it faster.
and then it's
Meta percentage.
Meta
So it's
percentage.
Alt Shift
Yeah.
5 with comma,
with comma, yes.
and that'll do it way quicker. Bang.
Oh.
To do it for all.
Cool. But I had a lapse at the beginning. So
Yeah,
just-
so then reverse. This
What
is
did you
gonna
do?
beat Vim.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
So
I like it.
1, 2,
Search.
and search. With comma.
Bang. Vim Golf Submit.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Backslash orbit.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Ooh, this is good.
Holy crap, that's not a lot of.
Is it up to that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
10.
Nice.
Yay!
High five!
Do just replace string straight without having to go through
Then
the
you have to
whole
type
query replace and then,
replace.
yeah, but
There's no default binding for replace string, so if you want to
But
try
you
and get
could-
there
you could
quickly
add your
with
own.
rep str,
Just by the way, this one doesn't
You
seem
mean-
to record like repeat characters. So for example, you could shave off the delete character if you just did repeat twice.
But it'll be the same.
Well, no,
oh,
you
but
shave
that's
off one of-
that's wrong. That's a bug.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Okay, like hitting a 2 is not the same as hitting a modifier. Because here, like, Control D is an actual key sequence that is sent to the machine. That's
Yeah.
where we're making the distinction.
Yeah.
Hitting 222 is 3 keystrokes. To do it 222 times.
No, I remember it being a thing, but it's clearly not. I'm just wrong.
Okay. Right. I mean, I actually would not have beaten that. That's a good one.
Mm.
Although I gave you the meta percentage hint.
Yes.
I learned that one.
Oh, okay, cool.
So what
Um,
was that? Control S, Control Q for interactive search.
No, the
So
control Q is to quote the end of line character.
so you,
I can search for it.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, so this is actually 11 because the new line wasn't recorded. It's another bug. Quote doesn't record the next character
Oh,
because it's Control Q, Control J.
okay.
So that's 11.
Okay.
Still darn good.
No.
Still like legitimately beats Vim with built-in.
What's
It's like
called
you
again?
beat us
once this evening.
Had to happen.
We'll come back next week. Sorry, next month.
No, so next month I'll have an updated version of Vim Golf for us to play in, and I'll add some bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I'll add a counter as we go,
Oh, that would be nice to see. Actually.
and a log of what you're doing, and I'll make it not have bugs.
Good.
Yes.
Didn't you start off tonight by saying that like all code has bugs?
Yes.
So
I
what
don't know what.
Not do what I expected.
What did you want to do?
I was thinking I was typing a new line and
Oh, did you hit enter?
no.
Enter terminate
How
search.
dare you?
Were you searching for a new line?
Yeah.
So did you quote it though? Control Q. Otherwise, it just does a new line.
Yeah, right.
You might be able to do that with meta j though. Like you might be able to go meta j for new line.
Maybe actually.
Yeah, so then you
Try
would
that.
shave
Then
it off and
it
you'd
would
get
be-
10.
Then it would be 10.
Yeah.
So I go into search. It is, let's say,
Meta j. Yes!
So that works. Yeah.
It will work. So that is 10.
Yeah.
So then star space.
That's great.
And replace with comma. And you say bang, we'll get all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10.
Ooh, we can make it 9.
Okay. Huh.
Because we entered incremental search and then we went into replace.
Nope.
Huh?
No.
What?
I didn't go into incremental search. I went straight into query replace.
Yes, I was going to say, if you go straight
okay.
into query
Oh, yeah,
replace
that-
with meta
that-
percentage,
Yes, yes.
that
sorry.
makes it 9.
Yes, yes. So you didn't need to go into incremental search at all.
That is 9.
Hooray!
Nice.
Yay!
Is that a proper 9? No missing characters?
No, that is a
That's
proper 9.
proper 9.
Wow.
Very good.
There's the message in there and everything.
But can
I
you
mean, that
submit
does
this to
deserve
Vim Golf?
a golf clap as we gave.
Oh,
But can you actually submit like Emacs things to Vim Golf?
No.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That is actually legitimately for Vim only, and the Vim program itself. You can play from NeoVim.
NeoVim has done such wonderful things for the Vim community.
Has it?
Yes, the benevolent dictator for life for Vim has been stagnant for years. He wasn't sitting on his ass stopping people from actually like pushing the community forward and stuff. And with NeoVim, everyone went, well, fuck it, we've got a better one. And he went, wait. We cannot execute things concurrently, guys.
Oh, so now the normal Vim is surging ahead
Yes,
because of
yes.
NeoVim. Oh, that's awesome.
But like
The same thing has happened to Emacs several times.
Oh, great.
There was Emacs, there was like
Remax.
Umax, there's Remax, there's so many Macs out
Emacs
there.
written in Rust. It's great.
CL Max.
It's not always in Rust. They take the original Emacs and start changing out bits of C for Rust.
Yes.
The majority of it is still C.
Yeah, but still.
Emacs sells houses.
Damn.
In a reject, can you put a new line character in?
Someone wanted to give a bash at this.
Then,
Search place.
then I have an idea.
/R.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
backslash
is
N,
it,
surely.
your query
Backslash R.
replace is with is regex already.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Like we could make the Vim one better by using a /R
Okay,
to replace.
No, what am I doing? What?
the new lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Vim basically.
evil.
Yeah. Replace the new line space space with a comma.
It's confused, but
Two deletes at the beginning.
so
doesn't it?
Vengol.
The only thing I can think of is control 2.
Yeah.
Or space.
That's beta tempo.
Well, I
Space.
think
Star
Tempo
space.
is another topic
You
here.
have to remove the first.
That's how Emacs
star
starts to
yeah,
catch
so you
up
have
instead of
2x or
like
3x.
all key presses.
I think that would
Yeah.
The idea that if you hold in the modifier key the whole time, then
Stop beeping.
You don't know what you're doing. Come on, you can do this.
So
I think that was the wrong way around.
you needed a. Okay, wait, no.
It should have been returned
No,
on the
hold
new
on.
line first.
Yes, he's right. Okay.
hold on.
And resets the buffer. Keen to have another bash.
And I think you can only put in new lines. You can't search for them.
I want to try. I believe.
You can also change the built-in line numbers to be relative if you like.
No, I'm gonna.
By the way,
I'm gonna.
because I know this is something that Vim people really like.
What, relative line number?
Yeah, so it's like it's 5
Oh.
lines up from where you are
Maybe it's
versus
fine.
absolute line numbers.
New line first?
Yeah, no, just I mean, I honestly don't think it's gonna work, but I would like it if it did. Damn it!
Didn't like.
What was wrong with the? No, it's \n, not backslash.
I know that's
R.
what I was gonna try now.
Yeah, because this is Unix formatted.
no, Can't deal with the search on new line characters. It was worth a try.
Besides, it wouldn't have been shorter because backslash character is the same as 4J.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Give me a second.
Do something.
I don't think any meetup has been quite this quiet.
It's so intense. It's like, oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna hit enter.
I think I see what you're doing.
Okay, I don't know if that worked. Vim golf. Submit. Where did I start? I started there.
So you delete, record, forward.
I think I did too many characters here.
You know what's funny is that evil works better in this mode than plain old Emacs does. Because plain old Emacs is poorly recorded compared to these.
14 lines, I made it worse.
Didn't you get a 14 originally? I think you
It
did.
was 14.
Yeah.
I made it the same. I made it the same.